Same tone, you know.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, everybody.
Hey.
What's happening?
Wednesday, Woman Crush Wednesday. Also, the last day of Women's History Month. Wow, that happened really fast.
Too fast, if you ask me.
It was funny. I heard somebody say, like, for the couple of months, February and March, Black women are just super lit. You know what I'm saying? So we got to keep that same energy throughout the year,
all the time.
Exactly. But how are you guys
doing? I'm good. I'm rejuvenated. I'm fresh. I missed last week. Work got tough, but y'all did a great show. I'm happy to be on here. I love the topic. I'm excited.
Yeah, then we're gonna bring in your boy Christian real quick just to say what's up to him. How are you?
Fabulous. How are y'all? I am excited about today. Hey.
Me too. So before we
I'm a little nervous.
Me too. We're not gonna keep it PC. We're gonna keep it real on this episode. So, if you got some babies in the room and what have you, you may want to excuse them because we're gonna get real. And speaking
using the grown-up words, we using the P word, the F word, okay. All
the time.
I act like y'all don't be using those on other shows. I be hearing
But yes, so we're excited about today's conversation. We'll get into it a little bit later. We are going to get into the news, but before we do that, I want to introduce our AKA Anna Navarro, as he likes to put it, because he is our favorite guest co-host on our show. Yes. We have Mr. Christopher McClain coming, and he is our fave.
Hey guys, how you doing?
He's doing social medias for political campaign groups, and he's, taking out the time to come talk to us live and in person this time. Well, kind of in person, because normally you be in the comments having us cracking up.
I be doing what I be doing.
Absolutely. So we're just going to jump into the news. Chris also has some news information he'll get into with us as well. So first news topic of the day. Your boy Biden, you guys. So the Biden administration has urged Supreme Court to let cops enter homes and seize guns without a warrant. That's right. The U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments in a case testing whether police may enter a person's home and seize guns without a warrant in order to safeguard the homeowner from potential harm. I think this is incredibly interesting because it's kind of twofold. Entering without warning, that goes back to the whole Breonna Taylor case in terms of, the no-knock warrants. And we know that went all bad. At the same token, as we've been speaking about continuously throughout the show, we've been seeing a lot of the beige representation, or white people who are partaking in mass shootings and mass killings. And we're pretty sure that a lot of cops or law enforcement have been tipped off previously about these people, and they haven't really been doing anything to stop it. So I have mixed feelings about this, because I do feel as though this will be a segue into causing more harm to Black and brown communities. But at the same time, I think something does need to be done in order to get a grip on these mass killings, mass shootings, and these, like I said, white terrorists who have access to firearms and rifles that are going out and wreaking havoc on our community. So I'm really curious, what do you guys think about it? Don't all go at once.
So I'm very curious. I have mixed emotions when it comes to this, just because, I see the point, especially when people are causing harm, especially the case that they're citing. But for the Black and brown neighborhoods, like I'm very skeptical on how this is going to be applied, and whether or not, like, what is going to be the determining factor on whether or not this person is a harm to themselves, and how will they use that? Like, that's just like my main concern or thought.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Christian?
Oh yeah, definitely. I share the same sentiments as Chris. Just the wording in itself is like taking like 3 steps backwards, and I really am not a big fan of just letting cops enter as they please. Like, we're already facing, we saw what Breonna Taylor, what happened with her. And so they're already going into houses without even knowing where to go and shooting people that they aren't supposed to be. Like, it's just some weird stuff. And I think that this isn't going to be a good look for Biden and Harris at the end of the day. So I'm interested to see how this folds out. I'm going to follow this because this is definitely on our radar, dealing with criminal justice reform. So going to be following this for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Lawrence or Gigi?
Go ahead, Lawrence. I'm gathering my thoughts.
I'm never for more police involvement in an individual's life. Like, I think that we have the system that we have, and it's already too invasive. Police, they need to do a good job. And when you're balancing the equities, if you will, of like, yes, you want to save lives, you want to make sure people are taken care of, but when you're infringing on somebody's like personal space, personal life, I feel like you're more likely to do more harm there. So if the person has a gun and they're a danger to themselves and they're inside their own home, you got to wait till they come outside their home. You know what I'm saying? The police already have enough laws to help them police and take care of and safeguard all the things that they claim that they do. We don't need another loophole for a potential harm to an individual. So I'm not for it. But I think this is kind of the double-edged sword, right? When you look at super liberal ideals in regard to like gun reform, sometimes this is like one of the avenues. It's like, oh, well, we want to have gun reform. We want to have fewer guns on the street. So let's use cops to get those guns. And it's like, yeah, I want gun reform, but I don't need more cops in my community to come take the guns out. Like, I want gun reform. Maybe we should stop shipping in as many guns, stop creating as many guns. But I don't need cops coming in trying to snatch stuff out of somebody's house. I'm not cool with that.
Absolutely. Ms. Gigi.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I mean, we have seen how the police treat people of color versus the beige community or, Caucasians. And so we do know that once laws are put into place, it is going to definitely be a difference. I didn't forget about the off-duty police officer who walked into the South Dallas apartment and shot Botham Shem. And, he died later on at the hospital, but she thought the apartment was hers and she killed him. And so if police are just able to, at liberty, go into homes without warrants, it is going to be problematic. We can see there's still not justice for Breonna Taylor. And to my knowledge, there's not any justice for Botham Shem either. So what happens when these police take matters of justice into their own into their own hands and kill innocent people? And we can see clearly from the terrorists, the white terrorism, that police are able to restrain, they're able to definitely take people into custody. But for some reason, when it comes to brown and black people, those same restraints just seem obsolete. And it's definitely a problem. We also see this at the Capitol. We see how, everyone was able to storm the Capitol, but as you guys know, you heard the story of the Georgia legislator and how they handled her. And so we'll get into that as well. But you can clearly see the differences of how police treat brown and black people.
Yeah. And just to kind of conclude on this point, the police are just kind of messy. It's a mess. I recently saw a video with the whole riot team going into a house, and they were so confused as to which house it was. They literally passed the house like 3 times that they were supposed to go to. There was a lot of confusion. I don't know how they're training these individuals in terms of how to properly go about entering someone's home, but there's just there's too much room for discrepancies and errors. And with, like you said, Botham Jean and of course, Breonna Taylor and so many countless others, even within, our communities that have been killed or hurt or harmed. I remember the woman, I don't know if you all saw that was on the news. She was in her shower and they ran in her house, wrong house. And she told them, you have the wrong house. And she was naked. And they took 4 or 5 minutes just to clothe, to give her a robe to put on herself. That's just completely invasive. And I can't imagine being in that situation. So I agree. I think we're all on the same page on this one. So we're going to definitely see what happens. Go ahead, Chris.
I just feel like they're taking 10 steps before they take the first step. And I just think that like they're so afraid of actually having the gun fight with conservatives about what we need to do about gun reform. They're trying to take the back door and just like, okay, maybe we can do just go into the house if they're causing harm to themselves. And it's just like, if you're gonna do it, just have the balls, I guess, to go and have that, to pick that fight, I guess. Yeah,
absolutely. But we'll definitely be following this. It ain't over yet. And again, most of us that are Democrats or consider ourselves liberal, we did want Biden to be president, but that does not excuse him from, us critiquing him, so to speak, and holding him accountable and responsible for the things that we think are not appropriate to our community. So speaking of which, things that are not appropriate, Gigi has some information regarding what recently happened in the Capitol last week.
Yeah, so Georgia state troopers arrested the Democratic State Representative Park Cannon on Thursday, and that's after she knocked on Republican Governor Brian Kemp's state house door. Now, as you may or may not, he signed a controversial election bill into law in a closed door ceremony. So she was really knocking to elicit a response. I feel like her actions were very bold, but they were not, I don't think, inappropriate, I should say. In the video, they handcuffed her. They pretty much walked her out. And again, you know, it's definitely a difference because we saw at the Capitol, not only were they able to storm it when the riots took place, but they were also able to walk away. They were able to have interviews. They are able to talk, to do videos, all in the Capitol. But we can definitely see that this was definitely not the case with her. And so it's unfortunate. She was put in the police car, very humiliating. And, you know, it's just another unfortunate display of how police treat white people and how they treat Black people. It's just plain as day. But what are you guys' thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think overall, just in regards to Georgia, we've been, you know, following Georgia's movement for the past year and everything that Stacey Abrams and, you know, everyone that was involved in her movement set forth. And the fact that something so sneaky is happening in regards to somewhat reversing, you know, everything that was set into place, and that this particular individual who is a representative, she has every right to be there. She has every right to knock on that door. They treat her with just such disregard. I think it's rather unfortunate, and I think this is another reason why we can't just get our hopes up too much. And it's unfortunate that has to be the case. We have to continue fighting, and the work is still not done.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it also speaks to how society views Black women as well. You know, for them to even put handcuffs on her, to just do that in an irate and abusive way, it's just violent, right? It's a whole nother form of violence. For them to even think that would be okay. Like you said, she has every right to be there. So what is really the problem? It also speaks volumes about Georgia. It speaks volumes about the South. They're nervous about actually being held accountable, dealing with voter laws. All this stuff is crazy. Like, how dare you, you know? And it's time for us, like what we're doing with this show, is to really speak out against what is happening across the nation, and specifically in Georgia. Now, we realize that Stacey Abrams did a huge job with, like, you know, registering 800,000 voters. So, you know, we're making all these steps. Here comes another thing trying to, like, put us in our place, call this fear tactic or whatever they want to do. And I think that it's totally disrespectful and unacceptable.
And what's crazy about it is, had she not done that, and had this not made news and went viral, I would not have even known what they were doing in that room.
Exactly. Yep.
Which is crazy. But yeah, Lawrence, did you have any thoughts on this?
No, I think you guys said everything. Like, it was, she had every right to be in the building, knocking on somebody's door. I don't know when that became, like, you know, trespassing or a serious offense. I'm almost glad that she got arrested, though, because I feel like this situation gave a lot of light and shined a lot of light on what was going on. So it was, you know, kudos to her and being brave enough to endure what she had to endure to bring light to the situation. But yeah, what's going on in Georgia is horrible. And as Christian just said, I think it's one step forward. And now they're making this obvious, blatant move. It's like, hey, there's no way that Black people can beat the system. They already have tools like political gerrymandering. They already control many of the other districts. And so now they're going to come back and try to have whole new laws because they just can't accept that they lost. But with population changing and with more African-American and colored people, I don't know if I should say colored people, diverse people. There you go. Diverse. Well, I say more African-American and more diverse individuals being politically active. This is what we talked about with the Biden campaign, you know, and it's showing that this is like a lasting effect. It wasn't just to get Trump out. It wasn't just to get, you know, turn Georgia blue, but now, like, we're paying more attention and we're standing up for our rights. And they realize it's a rude awakening. Like, it's change is coming. So.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to go ahead and get into the next topic, which, you know, a lot of us have been following. As we know, it sort of started a whole movement across the country when it happened. Obviously, I'm speaking of the George Floyd case. And as you all may have seen, it's been going on for the past 4 days. The Chauvin trial, the officer that actually killed George Floyd, is on trial. And Chris has a little bit of information to give us about that.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna say his name, I'm gonna call him that man. For that man's trial, we are on day 3. They currently, on day 3, they went over the body cam footage, some cell phone footage, and some store employees footage. From there's a lot of just commentary or statements, just basically what people were seeing and how they warned that man that he wasn't breathing, he wasn't moving, how they need to check his pulse, just basically giving him every opportunity to let go of his ego and save a life. And from there, day 2, they discussed with various witnesses that were in the area. And then day 1, they were just discussing the cause of death and whether or not it was asphyxiation. So,
yeah. It's sad. It really makes me sad. And I was telling Gigi earlier, like I try not to pay too much attention to it because it kind of brings it back for me. And as Gigi says, we have to protect our peace. But it's really remarkable, all of the people that they have that are coming out and speaking that were in the area. It was a heavily populated area. I think that's what was the most remarkable to me. And the fact that that man had the audacity to do what he did in front of all of these people, all of these Black and brown people, and for it to be over something so minute as a what was thought to be a fake bill, it just adds insult to injury, if you ask me.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead. You are guest.
I don't have nothing substance to say. Go ahead, Christian.
Hey, no, it's all good. I think I'm fearful about is actually this man getting off, right? I think that this is what we're really nervous about, and him not being charged and held accountable, because we've seen this historically time and time again. I am praying and I'm hopeful that they actually charge this man with something and actually realize and hold him accountable. Now, what the other side in the argument is saying is that they're trying not to use this about race. They're always trying to involve the idea of like, it's not about race, not about race. And it's kind of hard for the courts to really, do that, but it's evident. And even if it's not about race, which it is, but I'm saying that at the system of, and we've been talking about it, our policing systems, our sheriff systems is just it's not acceptable, and it has to change. There has to be police reform on all levels, on a federal level especially. And in order for us to really get that radical change that we talk about, this is going to we have to talk about it. We are going to have to deal with this stuff and be able to, what is it dealing with? The immunity? I think New York did something about police immunity, removing police
qualified immunity.
Yeah. And so this is something that we can apply to other states. And so that's just I haven't been following it like I need to, but I have been like watching the tweets and the news and everything. And I just think that this is unfair again and unacceptable.
Yeah, I agree with you, Christian. And one of our audience members, Killa Boss Lady, also agrees with you. We do need to reform the police system. Definitely. But one thing that I don't really know if this is too controversial, but it's more so like we see the killings over and over and over again. And I never know what I'll do if I was actually in that situation. But a part of me is like, no, did anyone no one stepped in? And I get it. Like the police are held to such a high standard that I've seen so many cases of police brutality, and no one steps in, no one says anything. And I'm curious about the psychological effects that the police have had on the people's mental psyche, that you see injustices and no one steps in. Now, I have seen, I think maybe 2 videos of African-American men that actually did intervene because they knew the rights, they knew the laws, and they were not fearful, or so it seemed. But that's 2 out of so many. And so it begs the question, what has the police system done to the people that they have elicited such fear that we don't even question the brutality? Like it's just it's a deep down like fear that you don't even like step in. The only thing you can do is kind of record, and that's if people take up their phones and record. And sometimes people see these injustices and they record versus reporting it. But it seems like there needs to be some type of system in place. I know the Black Panther Party is, kind of, I don't want to say obsolete, but they're not operating the way in which they used to. But it seems to be there needs to be some type of system in place to protect us, because obviously the police aren't protecting us.
Definitely, I agree. We just don't know what that is. We don't know.
And
I think to answer that question, go ahead, Chris.
To add to that, when it comes to like, it's how the police present themselves. They don't present themselves as a helping hand or anything that you can rely on. It's always intimidation or power, and it doesn't really blow that positive feeling inside the community. Because I know the police in my community, like, they carry their badge like it's just like, oh, I'm above the law. But really, you're there to help. You're there to serve, and there's no humbleness when they serve. That's my thought.
Yeah, this is a quick anecdotal story. I was at the airport the other day, and I was going through like TSA pre-check, and then they were like, no, we ain't got no TSA pre-check. I'm like, listen, I'm TSA pre-check. I want to leave my shoes on. I'm trying to like walk through the metal detector. And the lady just had an attitude with me. She was like, no, you're going to have to take your shoes off because we're too busy. And then I sat there with her for a minute and argued for like 15 minutes. And then she was like, okay, go ahead. But my point is, that's like a microcosm what the police are like, man. Like, you have some good police, but sometimes they come out here, they try to enforce their own laws in their communities. Like, you could know what you're doing is right. For example, we talk about filming and using your phone, and they'll still be like, put your phone down. Put your phone down right now. I don't care what you're saying. And they use all these different tactics. And to go back to Gigi's point, it's like, well, what have they done psychologically to keep people that know the rights, that could step in and help from doing such? They kill us. Like, straight up, like, if I'm in one of those situations, I'm not worried about getting beat. I'm not worried about going to jail. I know my rights. I know what I could do, but I am worried about being killed and not being able to tell the story the right way. Because if they kill the person that's on the ground and they kill me, now all they're going to do is, in the words of Dave Chappelle, sprinkle some crack on me and run away and say it was my fault. So it's like, I understand we need a system in play. We need a community effort to do this, but it really has to come from the top down when we talk about police reform. Using the unjust system to try to reform it, it doesn't work. And two, a lot of times, like, let's say there are cops and there are 20 of them that end up killing unarmed Black people, and then one goes to jail. They use that as a sign that the system is working. They use any type of like incremental, tiny win for the minorities to say it's working when it's not. Like, we know it's broken. So to me, like, regardless of how this trial comes out, the system is still broken and we still need reform.
Right. Do you guys have hope? Do you think he's going to be indicted? Just your gut feeling? Or?
Judging on his lawyer, I've been watching the clips, and the lawyer doesn't seem too confident. It's like he walked in with fake Jordans on. Like, he's very, very shaky. Like, you
said he was public defender-esque?
Yeah, he was giving me public defender.
Lord, well, we're going to see what happens. We'll definitely be staying tuned. This isn't going away anytime soon, so we'll be updating you guys on this periodically. But on to something a little more lighter, because these are some heavy topics. We have this new thing I've been hearing going around, something about where the money reside as it pertains to art. And I think Lawrence is the best person to talk to this. Tell us about these NFTs that I've been hearing about.
So NFTs, an NFT stands for non-fungible token. And what it is, it's another form of blockchain. You're probably aware of other types of cryptocurrency that uses blockchain technology, such as Bitcoin, Dogecoin, or Ethereum. It uses the same type of information. What it does is it encrypts a code, it puts it like deep inside of a machine, and it spits out one piece of data that has so many numbers and it's so complicated that it is almost impossible to duplicate or replicate. And then it puts it inside of a chain of other very difficult to hack numbers, and it calculates those, and it goes into this pretty much infinitive chain that's going on from computer to computer. So it's pretty much like they're able to create like a website internet ghost. if you will, that you cannot duplicate. Now, why this information is really important and blockchain has pretty much revolutionized so much of what we do is because this information is so secure that you can create this individual number, this individual item that can't be duplicated. And that's why people have cryptocurrency, because it's like this dollar, this computer image is more secure than the actual like US dollar. It's easier to duplicate this piece of paper than it is this computer code. And so it started with different types of currency, and now we've gone to different types of NFTs and different types of non-fungible tokens. One of the most popular ones out right now is by Top Shot. Top Shot is an organization that has just blown up. They just got like a $2 billion valuation the other day. They've sold over $250 million worth of these non-fungible tokens. And essentially what they are, they can be anything as simple as a screenshot of an album cover. You can take a picture, and what you can do is you can put it into your computer, turn it in, you mine it and turn it into an unhackable code. And this makes it, as we say in the hood where I'm from, a 101. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can duplicate this. What you have right here in a digital format is not able to be duplicated ever. And because of that rarity, that scarcity, it drives the price up. So what we used to have like 20 years ago, you would get like a Michael Jordan authentic one-of-one basketball card, his like rookie card. And so now they're doing the same thing. You'll get like a Michael Jordan or a LeBron James card, but now you know that this card is literally one-of-one, can never be duplicated. And so people want it because they want to be able to pass it down for generation to generation. It can create generational wealth. It's still a little speculative in the sense of like, well, why would you just want a digital version of a picture? But what people are thinking of, it's like the same way, again, with a baseball card or a basketball card. All they are pictures, but they're really like time stamps in time. And you know that like this can't be duplicated. So I think it's just crazy to me that there's just a lot of money in it and people are just running it up. And we don't know. So Top Shot is like the biggest one of doing it with sports memorabilia. But I heard, what's the rapper's name that made the song Ballin'? He was on the there we go, Jim Jones. Jim Jones was on the Breakfast Club the other day talking about how he's getting into NFTs and his like next album, his like album cover will be an NFT. And then he's like, okay, then I want to you can break down an NFT. So it'll be like literally one picture of his album cover, and then he's going to break it in 10 pieces to try to drive the demand up again, and then get all these people to get all the pieces together like a puzzle. And so it's injecting itself in hip hop culture. And we already talked about the currency area and sports culture. Like this NFT blockchain technology is going everywhere.
I'm laughing at that.
I think that, this is kind of cool because this is allowing folks to, from the research that I've been doing, is that it is allowing people to like really get invested, being at home because of the pandemic. So it's allowing them to like just become more financially astute. And I think that that's kind of cool because, you know, I wasn't really into trading or learning about stocks. You have taught me a lot about that, Lawrence, and just learning different things. And, you know, there's always something new. And so it's good for us as young Black people to talk about that so that people that are interested, they can know about it. Because I'm going to start doing some more research about it, learning how to invest. Investing is so key. And this is how other communities have been able to create generational wealth. And so, you know, I think that this is a good idea for sure.
Yeah. And we've been talking about, you know, needing to go to where the money resides. So I'm happy to see all of these, you know, Black and brown people are into it. It's something that, you know, it seems like an even playing field for everyone. You just have to, like you said, do your research and get into it where you can. So I'm excited. Thank you for that breakdown. I'm not going to pretend like I understood everything you said, but we'll talk.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say this. One thing I can say about NFTs is, like we said, we're all doing our research about it, but it's a digital currency and there's a process. You can't just like go in and like grab an NFT. There's actually a process for you to be able to purchase NFTs. And I think that you have to have Bitcoin first and then some kind of way it translates into an NFT. So it's not like for those of you guys who are in the stock market, you can just, be like, I want to buy Riot today and just purchase it. It's not that simple. So it is a little bit more complicated, but I do think it's something to look into because if you guys haven't heard, they say that the dollar value amount is actually decreasing. Every stimulus, it says that our dollar is diminishing. And so people are making the move to digital currency. And they say if you don't invest your money, at least some of it, in the digital currency space, you may be left behind, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't want to get left behind.
Well, I'll say this, a couple of things. I think we talked about this on an episode a while back, but there are like really simple ways to invest in cryptocurrency, to purchase ETFs. You can literally just download Robinhood. I hate to say it, but it's a really good platform. It explains a lot of what's going on, and you can start off with $5. When you sign up with Robinhood, they actually give you a free stock. And so you kind of get your hand in the game. You're able to like trade and figure things out. There's another application called Coinbase, and it's specifically for cryptocurrencies. And so on their platform, they might have like 90 different cryptocurrencies. Again, if you have $20 that you was going to go to the movies with, take that $20, put it in the cryptocurrency, play with it. I feel like a lot of times we feel like we need to know every single thing. I'm not saying invest your life savings, but take $20, something you don't know, you might lose it. So what? Like, you was going to go to the movies anyways. Take that $20 and learn more about it, because these are, as Gigi said, cryptocurrency is going to be around for a long, long time for the rest of our lives. So the sooner you learn more about it, I think it's beneficial for our community in so many different ways.
All right.
You guys started saying trading, and I got traumatized. I like zoned out right now. It gave me flashbacks to the Pokemon days, and I traded all my Pokemon cards for a Pokemon card collector little book. And then my dad looked at me and was like, "You got robbed." It's giving very much that. So I'm just gonna have to find some way.
We'll figure it out. We'll go class together, Chris. We'll
right.
We'll watch some YouTube.
I did the same thing. I traded away all my Pogs, like the good Pogs, for like the Pokemon cards, and lost them. But you learn from the bad trades. I was that big too.
Hey,
I didn't learn. I gave up.
But yeah, so we're going to get into our main topic of the day. As you all have seen our flyer and the promo, of course, you know what's been going on this past week with LilNasX. The title of this episode is Sexuality versus Satan. So I do want to share one little clip from the music video for those of you who have not seen it. This is perhaps the one that got the most, what do you call it? Review, so to speak.
Talking points, I should say.
Yes, talking points. As you can see, he's going down the pole. It looks like a lot of fun, to be, completely honest. He's going
dangerous.
He was in heaven at first. And then he begins to proceed to the devil, or as we would assume is the devil, and he has the baby hairs popping, and he's living his best life. What do you guys think about this scene in particular? And then we'll get into the overall concept.
I think Brady Wick should go to hell too. Just saying. I'm just saying, I hate Brady Wigs. They drive me insane. The baby hairs
is popping though. But I concur. I definitely concur.
Well, the video is definitely controversial, and I don't know if you guys saw Coming to America too, but I think the person that he's giving the lap dance on may be who the main character was. They said allegedly, potentially in this video. So it gets to be really, really interesting, I should say, how things correlate. And not only that, but this song appeared at number 2 on the billboards, on Tuesday. And Lil Nas was actually celebrating that. So his fan base is massive. I think he did like a Nickelodeon show or appearance, 30 million kids tuned in. So this is a man that has an extensive reach. And so kids are definitely tuning into him. They're watching him. They're following everything that he's doing. So when you put out a video like this, the imagery, there's so much satanic imagery, allegedly. What does that do to your mental psyche? And so it gets to be really, really interesting. Lots of controversial. It landed him number 1 on the billboards on Tuesday. So I guess all bad press, isn't so bad. I'm assuming.
I don't know, man. I feel like people they be tripping, man. People were like tripping off of WAP. People were tripping off of a lot of different stuff this year. I think they just had too much time in the house. And like, I hear a lot of people saying that, he has this like following of kids. Like, if you're a parent, don't let your kids watch it. It's that simple.
You
And
can't.
to the argument that you can't stop your kids, right? Then get mad at who you should really be mad at, not Lil Nas X. Because you know how difficult, you know how many words you got to type in to get to Lil Nas X new Satan video on YouTube? That's probably like 12 words. You know how many words you got to type in to get to PORNHUB? That's what you got to do. You can Google Pornhub, and the first thing that comes up, and as soon as you click, it doesn't even ask if you're 18 or not. You just see them booty, ass, dick, pussy, everything on the screen. So if you're a parent and you're really mad about it, you need to get mad at Google, and you need to get mad at the availability of satanic material, the availability of sex, and everywhere else. Don't take it out on a young black male like he's the problem. This stuff has been going on forever. White people have been making satanic videos forever. Sex has been out in the world forever. So like, don't get mad at him for it and be like, oh, but he got a kid following. I guarantee you, every kid that watched Lil Nas X video has been to Pornhub. So if you cool with your kids going to Pornhub and you not getting mad at Pornhub, then don't get mad at Lil Nas X.
I kind of want to add on to that because I feel like the main reason on why they're mad is because he's gay and black, and he basically made a joke about Christianity. Let's be real. Like, the people who are really mad about it, because I'm gonna name names, is the Christians who decided to be a Christian when they saw that video. Let's be teased. Like, it's frustrating because we always mention, what about the kids? What about the kids? But where was the same outrage when the Catholic Church was molesting thousands of kids? There was nothing but silence. Right now, on the right, in the Conservative Party, Matt Gaetz is being investigated for raping or allegedly raping a 17-year-old girl. But again, it is quiet. So the selective outrage on when we want to focus on the children is kind of frustrating because it doesn't matter unless it's fitting to their agenda. And when we talk about specifically gay individuals, what about the LGBTQI, the alphabet mafia kids? Like, what about them? Do they not get the chance to feel seen, feel heard, feel someone that is fighting for them? Because, I mean, in the community, everybody knew exactly what this video was, and we all kind of chuckled in it because we knew exactly what it was. It was an FU to a system that kind of destroyed a lot of people's lives and a lot of people's mental psyche. So when not to attack you, Gigi, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying because this is what.
Oh, you know I got a rebuttal. So go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Because this is what I've been hearing all weekend is that the psyche of the children, but what it's fascinating because we push things to kids all the time. We push sexuality to kids all the time. We push violence to kids all the time. But for whatever reason, whenever it is something about gay individuals, all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. When we're telling a kid, oh, I see you over there with your little boyfriend, girlfriend, and we're pushing this heteronormative message to them, it's not a big deal because that is normal. That is the same thing that we're used to. But for whatever reason, that gay kid does not get the chance to be like, oh, yeah, you know, I'm living my life free. He has to sit there and be in the closet. So to me, this video was a big FU to a system that kind of cultivated and curated and stoked a whole bunch of hate that LGBT, the alphabet mafia, I can't go to the acronyms, guys. The alphabet mafia has to deal with their whole lives. And just to wrap up, my final point is to understand why he slid down the hole to hell and laughed in the face. Go to the Shade Room's post today. Joe Biden signed a proclamation saying today is National Trans Day, right? Visibility. And all through the comments, they're talking about it's the end of days, God ain't gonna like this, and all this stuff. For what? What's the hate for? There is literally no reason to hate this, but we're choosing to go ahead and spill this hate to this community and get mad when they say, okay, well, guess what? We're gonna make a mockery of your life. Like, I just don't get it.
I would love to hear Sharice's comments because I've just been reading her face this whole time.
No, I definitely I get where everyone is coming from. I'm not even trying to be politically correct when I say that. In regards to what Chris was saying in terms of pushing sexuality on children, I would say in more recent years, especially with cancel culture, people have been paying very much attention to that on both sides, even within heterosexual normalized media. When you look at, I think Space Jam is about to come back out with LeBron James. And I think you guys remember the bunny from Space Jam, how she was curvy and had her stomach out in the booty shorts. They said, you know what, this time we're not doing that. She's going to be dressed as a normal basketball player. So we're definitely seeing that transition happening on the side as it pertains to, normalized media. So I definitely understand people who are concerned about what their children are consuming. Unfortunately, we do live in a time where we can't control everything that kids are saying. Kids have phones, kids have friends, kids, they just get a lot. So I get people wanting to be, protective of their children and what they see. But that just boils down to me to having these conversations. Having conversations with your kids, and then just doing what our parents didn't do, allowing us to be free and be able to have these conversations. So we're not, turning out to be the little Billy Bobs that go shoot people, at the end of the day. I think people kind of, oppress themselves a lot. So I agree with you, Chris. I also think that we just need to pay more attention overall. And we can't just focus just on, like you said, the alphabet mafia specifically, because it's going on everywhere. People are concerned everywhere, and I just think it's something that's not going to stop. It really isn't.
But my thing is just that this has been going on. What is the difference? It's like when I was a kid, there was Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, exactly.
This like porn has been around. We might not have had it on our phones, but everybody went in their like little parents' underwear drawer where they had the like DVD or the VHS or something. Like people saw porn when they were kids and stuff. Y'all never? Oh, well, let me see. Maybe I don't know. Well, I feel like this. I feel like porn has been around since the beginning of time. Like if you wanted to see porn as a kid, you're going to see it. Demonic ideals like anti-Semitic, anti-Christian messages have been around since the beginning of time. So I just find it to be, it's always like the older generation just pointing back to people that are younger and getting mad. It happened when I was younger. Now I'm a little older. It's happening with like a new generational mix, but it's always going to be like the young parents talking about take care of the kids, take care of the kids. And I'm like, this is just how the world works. It's like you're going to have differing ideals and you can't push that off on a younger generation, because by virtue of who they are, they'll always want to do something new and different and creative. And whether it's with the alphabet mafia, as Chris said, or if it's getting mad at WAP, and then a month later we see all the memes about all the 80 songs that were just as bad as WAP. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just something that will continue to go. And I think older people just need to get over it. Like I'm tired of hearing about it. Like stop being so bitter about things you can't control, and stop telling me this same damn narrative about kids when kids are going to see it.
But do you think it's healthy to see porn? Like, do you honestly think that children who were exposed to it at an early age have healthy relationships when it comes to intimacy and sex? Do you think that's okay?
I do. I think when we look at different cultures where they're not hypersexualized and they don't believe in, like, they don't have this tug and pull between like religion and their own sexual ideals. When we look at European kids, when we look at the laws surrounding like pornography and Switzerland and different countries, it's like they actually show fewer psychological issues and a better overall relationship with sex than kids in America. And so like when we talk about kids, are we talking about 7, 8, 9, 10? And again, if it's that young and you're telling me that you have no control over your 10-year-old and what they see on TV, then the problem is not LilNasX. The problem is your parenting.
I think that the problem is the media, quite frankly. And the reason why this is such a big topic, sexuality versus Satan, sexuality has been around forever. But when you're talking about satanic images and imagery, that is completely different. I mean, I grew up in Texas, so I didn't grow up watching porn. I didn't grow up watching a man go down from heaven to hell on a pole. I didn't grow up with that. So I know things are going to be different due to our backgrounds, but I didn't grow up with that. The issue is we live in a media technology. So he does have a responsibility because a lot of his fan base is the youth. So when you are watching, you give a child a tablet or a phone, a lot of his stuff is popping up. Why? Because he's trending, just like his shoes. They are trending. His shoes say 666. They say Satan shoes. They have Luke 10:18, which is a satanic reference. So if you have a spiritual compass, regardless of who you decide to sleep with, there's still a moral compass inside of you that should be like, something isn't right. There is a distinct difference, I feel, that's my personal opinion, by saying, oh, I want to embrace my sexuality, and oh, I want to embrace Satan. Now, that might be an unpopular opinion, you know what I mean? But even like, I have friends that are heterosexual, homosexual. We all have this conversation, and everybody was a little like, ooh, to this video. So for some of you guys that may be condoning the video, I don't know your spirituality, preferences, or I don't know what that is inside of you, but the moral compass in me is like, sexuality is one thing. We all got our little, we all got our things that we do. But when you're talking about glorifying Satan, that's a whole nother thing. And I can never say that I'm going to get behind someone that's literally have said they worship Satan, that have put out shoes about worshiping Satan, and has the satanic scripture reference. So again, by all means, if that's what y'all want to do, by all, do that. But I can never say that I'm going to be for that.
But I think
that's what people are saying.
Difference.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't think what he's doing is necessarily he's now satanic, right? Because that's kind of what the message is. Yes, exactly. I said that. I don't think what he's saying is that he's satanic. What he never said that he's satanic. Like, what do you mean?
The shoes say 666 on them.
Okay, let me finish my point.
There's a human drop of blood in the shoes, allegedly.
Let me finish my point. The point is that he is trolling Christians for the thing that they put inside him. So if you're continuing to tell somebody that they're going to hell for who they love, don't be surprised when he is expressing his art and he decides, I'm going to give the devil this poor piss lap dance because the lap dance was whack. Let me just go ahead and say that. Anybody who grew up in the Pretty Ricky days know that was kind of but I'm going to give the devil a lap dance, and I'm going to laugh in your face. And guess what? I'm going to capitalize on it because I'm going to sell some shoes. Like, it's literally a big troll. And the reactions that he's getting is exactly the reason on why he did it. Because as soon as specifically like people shown that like, oh, LilNasX did that. Oh, look, I really wanted to support the LGBTQI community. And I don't know if I could get with that. Da, 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 da. It's like we employ these white supremacist tactics when all of a sudden the one is the all, and now we can't actually support what's happening or support this boy because he decided to make a message for people. And again, on his Twitter feed, he never said he was satanic. Like, we need to understand the difference between saying and what the imagery is. He was creating a message. If you watch the whole video, it was about him falling in love and that he was going to go to heaven, but he chose to be true to himself, went down to hell, and he embraced it. I mean, how's that bad considering people have been telling him he's going to go to hell his whole life? Like, I don't understand.
I want to say something. Gigi made one comment. I just want to say one thing. I do not condone, I do not support satanic imagery. I'm a Christian. I just want to say it for the record. I'm actually rather conservative in many ways. My point was that I am not going to get upset and try to hinder somebody else's belief. I remember when I was, I think, 12 years old, and the South Park movie came out, and there was like a Satan like having sex with Stalin, and everybody got upset. And South Park is still going on today. Like, the world's not going to burn down because a few people want to make a few satanic jokes, because like Satan has been around, according to the Bible, since the beginning of time. And like, we're still here. So it's like, if somebody wants to make a satanic joke, if somebody wants to have a lap dance and who they want to have a lap dance with it, me as a Christian, and what I would tell my kids is like, hey, that's what they're doing. We can go do this. I don't need to shut somebody else down in order to have my beliefs in the world. And I think that's what's problematic a lot of times. And me as a semi-conservative Christian, it's problematic that our beliefs a lot of times are seen as beliefs that we have to force upon other people. My Christianity has nothing to do with that other community. If you want to listen to the gospel, that's great. But I'm not about to sit here and Bible thump you with it. And I don't think that's what's necessary in order to be a good Christian.
Agreed. Can I chime in? Y'all been going in. So
go ahead.
Puzzling everything. I think that kind of what Chris is saying, and I want to tackle what Lawrence was talking about with the church. This opens room for a lot of conversation, right? And so what Chris is saying is that he did this for the media, and I'm not saying that's totality of what it was, but in my opinion is that this was definitely a media like troll, let's get some money, blah, 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 because the people ate it up. Everybody was eating it up, sharing it, X, Y, and Z. I finally looked at the video, I think yesterday, and I was like, okay, this boy's a little, that's my Christian side. Like, okay, a little off. This is weird. But I also realized that this is a time in our society in 2021 for us to really have this conversation dealing with traditionalism, to deal with sexuality, to deal with the church and how the church has hurt a lot of LGBTQIA plus and the community that from that time frame. So for LilNasX to express himself, do whatever you want to do. I will encourage for your parents to pray over your kids after you do watch this video, because that's just my own faith and what I believe in, because I do believe prayer works. I do believe that there is a spirituality realm. I do believe that there is a God. I do believe that there is Satan. But there is also a point in our time where we are changing. The church is changing. And so for us to not acknowledge that there is another sense of love that needs to take place for our LGBTQIA people, then this is where it gets a little bit more sensitive and real, because you can't try to bring people into your church, bring people into your household, preach Jesus when Jesus is love. At the end of the day, Jesus was love. So how do we exemplify that love to others? By continuously having this weird conversation about, they're wrong, they're going to hell, and just preaching condemnation. And this is where I get a little, I don't want to say upset, but, bishops, pastors, the Pope, they have raped young boys. They have violated young boys. They have done all these things. And over time, history has proven itself. So for us to really try to condemn the next person for what they do or who they love and where they're at in life, that's just not right. It's, as I would say earlier, it's unacceptable.
I have a question really quickly. Do you all think that with LilNasX coming out with this video and the message that he wanted to put out there, what do you think is organically going to come from this? Do you think that there is something positive that's going to come from this? Do you think it's meant to bring people together? And I think my only qualm with it is that, yes, he did express himself and it was for his own self-expression. It also was for him to get the coin. Let's be completely honest. He went for shock value. I honestly don't think that this move was progressive in a way that it's going to bring people together. I see it causing more of a divide. I'm not putting it all on him. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm saying that's just where we are as a society. So I don't see what he did as anything that's meant to bring us together, so to speak. I also don't think he was worshiping the devil. I don't think he was worshiping the devil. I agree with you, Chris. This was like a straight up FU to the society that has diminished who he organically is on the inside.
But Sharik, what brings us together is to have these different conversations about like stuff that challenges status quo, that challenges traditions, right? And so because we were raised in church, I know I was raised in the church, my family's very religious, but I also understand that this stuff is against what people believe. So in order for them to receive it, you got to have that conversation. And I believe that there is potential for us to there's always some type of positive or some room for improvement that we can bring out of something. Now, I'm not saying I agree with it or whatever, but I know that this is a real thing in time that's happening today. Too many lives are being taken. Too many lives are being, suicide is happening, especially within the LGBTQIA because of the religious factor. So let's not play as if the religion has not played a role in these people's lives. So if they want to express themselves to try to free themselves, who are we to talk about that?
I think that the issue is that we're all very smart, we're all intelligent, so we can have a dialogue about this, but that is not what the average person is seeing. That's not what the kids are seeing. The kids are seeing this satanic imagery. They're not like, oh man, this is an expression of, him saying, screw the church. And there's different layers to this. There's the church, as people define it, which is religion. Then there's spirituality, and that's people that don't identify with Christianity. They just identify with having a relationship with God and against Satan. So there's different levels to this. But we're talking specifically about a young man that reaches over 30 million. He reaches a large population, and he decided to utilize his platform to promote, in my opinion, even if it's trolling or whatever, the imagery and all this is satanic. So my thing is this. There has to be some type of accountability there. You can still love a community without saying, oh, you know what, this video is okay. And I think that anytime we get so, I should say, we have to step on eggshells and not be true to our belief systems is problematic. Now, I can say that I'm more spiritual for sure than I am religious. You know, I am. So when I saw the video, there was something in my moral compass that didn't sit well with me. And regardless of, you know, who you sleep with at the end of the day and who you support at the end of the day, you know, if you have spiritual, if you believe in God, if you are against Satan, something in you morally should have been like, ooh, that might not have 666 blood in the shoes. He's sliding on the pole. He's doing something just don't sit right with me. Now that's just me. And as I have conversations with my friends that we are on a higher level of thinking, we can have these conversations. But when you're talking about children, when you're talking about kids that's on the shade room that you may not be able to monitor everything, ain't no parent with their kid 24/7, 7 days a week. Let's just be honest. Even if they go to school, they have their phones. So when you're talking about someone that has this big platform, you can definitely dispel the church hurt, because church hurt, church trauma, all of that is very, very real. Okay, that's a whole nother topic. But let's not pretend that his imagery is not affecting children in a way, or even the youth in a way. And I'm an advocate for the youth, so I'm very passionate about this. So let's just not pretend like that they're having this conversation like, oh, you know what, he did this for church hurt. You know what? He did this for just church hurt. A lot of the church hurt is the adults.
I mean,
I'll tell you this. Let me say one thing. Gigi, when you're talking about the youth from our elevated understanding in our minds and our age and our talent, the youth understands trolling more than you do. I guarantee, because they are the ones that created it. So you're talking about kids that troll every day. They're on social media, so they understand this. They're on all the platforms more than you are. And so what I'm saying is, for you from the outside to be like, nope, these kids don't understand it. The kids do understand it. They do. They're the ones that are trolling. They're the ones that are his fans. They're the ones that are following all of his tweets. And he has tweeted and explained what was going on. He has been trolling for years. This is in the beginning when he was going out here talking about all of the other rappers that he wanted to sleep with before he even came out. So he's articulated on several accounts, on several different platforms, what he's talking about. It's only the older people that don't keep up with him, that don't understand what's going on. That's my first point. And then secondarily, like, again, going back to this whole thing about the kids play Grand Theft Auto and they rape people and kill people and sit here and sleep with. I get it, but it's allowed in our society. The kids go to Pornhub. Pornhub doesn't even have a disclaimer when you click on it. You just go straight in and see pussy, straight in to see dick. But that's okay. My point is, the kids, if you're going to talk about the kids and the parents can't control their kids, and so that, you know, we need to condemn this stuff, that the satanic speech and all this, there's so many other avenues out there that are doing just as bad or even worse to kids from a corporate level. To sit here and point the finger at a young Black LGBTQ member that's expressing himself out of a place of pain and hurt and being like, nope, you're the one that we're going to talk about. All these other corporations, let's not. You have to ask yourself, why is it? And this goes back to Chris's point. And in the beginning of this conversation, I was like, nope, it happened with WAP, happened with all of this. But now in this conversation, I'm starting to see, well, like, why is it that there's so much anger and vitriol towards this individual and not all these others? And to me, that answer is, it is because of the intersectionality of being young, Black, and part of the alphabet mafia. And that's the only explanation of why we're going so hard on this and not the others.
I think we went hard on WAP too. We went hard on WAP as well.
I was like, we was divided on WAP too. It's like you can't like sit out one without the other. You know what I mean? Like I said, if you want to condone it and condone the video, that's on you. You know, just like people condone WAP and people didn't condone WAP, and that was on them. It was big controversy as well. So we're all going to think differently due to our own backgrounds and due to our moral belief systems. My belief systems is not going to be the same as yours, Christians, Chris's, or Sharik's, because we're all different. You know what I mean? So I just think that's at the end of the day. But it shouldn't be one thing that really bothers me is if you don't agree with something, then it's always like, oh, you're against the LGBTQ LGBTQI community, and that's not the case. And that's the thing that also sparks a lot of outrage. Just like, just because you don't condone a video doesn't mean that you can't be supportive of that community. And I think that that's a lot of the conversations as well.
I want to add.
Go ahead, Chris. I'll let you go ahead, and then I'll go.
I just want to add, it is specifically because he is Black and gay. Because Lil Uzi Vert, for what, the first half of his career was wearing upside down crosses, like consistently. No one cared. Trippie Redd always talks about the devil. Tyler, Creator, always talks about the devil. 3-6 Mafia, for Christ's sake. Like, it's just this consistent thing. We can go into the white world where we have Sabrina the Teenage Witch, who literally sells merch with pentagrams. They literally did their whole show in a satanic temple, but there wasn't the same outrage. It wasn't the same thing. It was on Netflix, publicly available for kids to go on and watch, but no one cared. But because he's a gay Black boy, how dare he come after this institution, regardless of what they did to him? It doesn't matter. He needs to be the bigger person in the situation and look out for the kids, even though the church doesn't look out for the kids. How does that make it? Doesn't connect for me.
I was going to say something very similar to that. I was going to bring up the Sabrina thing. But what I think, too, is that one of the things that we have to pay attention to is he's already such a big artist with such a big platform.
Right.
So the outrage isn't going to be the same as with Little Uzi Vert or something.
I didn't even pay attention to Lil Uzi. I like Lil, I mean, you know, Old Town Road was like #1 for what?
Let me finish. Wow. So, you know, when it comes to Lil Nas X, he's in a very, very unique situation because let's be honest, he has the #1 song running longer than Mariah Carey, who held that down for plus 15 years. So he's already on a much, much, much larger scale. So it's not grading on a curve, so to speak, because he has such a high platform. That's why everyone is talking about it. I guarantee you, if he had never had a #1 hit, if he had never went viral, no, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So I think we need to also add that in, that it's because of his influence that we're even having this conversation. Not everybody knows who Little Uzi Vert is. Not everybody knows, you know, Kodak Black and all these other rappers. We don't know them because they don't have such platform. So I don't think it's simply just because he identifies with that particular community. That's a part of it for some people. I think it's because he has so much virality, and within hours, the song and video went up to millions and millions and millions of views. Oh, yes. That's not the same as for everybody else. So that's a factor. I don't think it's just simply people, you know, are dissing him because of, you know, his sexuality and what he's saying is, you know, his church hurt. I think we also have to realize what it is, call a spade a spade. He's hella viral. That's why everybody's talking about it. And he knows it. And he knew that this was going to be shock value. He knew what he was doing. So I'm only questioning whether the messaging was effective. Because as we said, not everybody's having proactive and productive conversations such as what we are having right now. There are people who are deeply ingrained within their communities and they don't see the other side and they don't even cross paths with the other side. So I think it partially can be divisive. And I think there needs to be a conversation. Perhaps he needs to go onto a platform and have conversations with certain people that identify from the opposite community and really go into it. I think it'd be worth it.
That's not his job. His job is not to go to.
I think it's his job.
I just want to make this point.
I think it would be helpful. I think it would be helpful. Like we said, having these conversations are key.
The same thing with Black folks, how we are not expected to go into white spaces and have these conversations. That's not our job. Our job is not to convince these other people that we are worth value. They need to come to that. You know what I'm saying?
No other rapper does that. No other rapper goes and it's like, oh no, I'm not really selling drugs, kids. I'm not really shooting in the streets. This is all just make believe. Nobody does. That's not expected.
There's panels and there's conversations that are had constantly about violence in the streets, violence in the community.
But 21 Savage isn't going into the community telling kids, no, I'm not really doing it. Gucci Man isn't going in the community telling kids, I'm not really killing people. We don't expect that from our other big stars to be like, oh no, you need to go let the kids know this is really harmful for our community. Hey, Jay-Z, go tell all the kids you're not really selling crack. I'm saying, like, it's not an artist's job to go and talk about or talk to the people that are offended. The artist's job is to make music for the people that like him and follow him. And what I'm saying, where are all these hurt kids? Where are all these confused kids that watch the video and now are going to grow up and be devil worshippers? Because I don't see them. So I'm like, if you're saying his fan base, the kids that are watching his individual platform, if they don't understand that he's trolling and they're having, I don't know, as Gigi would say, if their peace isn't being protected. If you show me those kids then I'll be like, okay, he needs to go talk to him. But the only people that seem to be hurt are the people he wasn't even making the music for.
Now, see, here's the thing. I work with the youth, okay? So my perspective is going to be a little bit different. And I be in the comments, and I be on Twitter. And so the kids are on Twitter. They be tweeting. They got Twitter fingers. You see what I'm saying? So when you talk about hurt, I don't think that the kids, I agree with you. I don't think that the kids are like, oh my gosh, his music is hurting me. But do I think that his influence is saying, oh, okay, this is okay? Like, you know, the Satan imagery is okay. He has influence. And so there should be some accountability that goes along with his influence, just like everybody else. Just like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion got so much because they have influence. So at the end of the day, when you have influence, there has to be accountability there. And to Chris, what you were saying about, I'm just now realizing that, like, yes, I knew he was gay, but when I saw the video, I wasn't even thinking about that. My mind was like, wow, he just insane, popping in and dropping in. Like, that was my whole thing. I didn't even connect until you said something that, oh yeah, okay, people are outraged because you're probably right. They probably are outraged because of the LGBTQI community. I was more outraged, or not outraged, but I was more taken aback that, you know, he was in hell and doing all these things, and the shoes with 666 with the drop of blood, and it's just so blatant. Back in the day, things were a little bit more covert, and now it's overt.
No.
And yes, it was.
Marilyn Manson was biting bats' heads off. Like, who? What do you mean, Marilyn Manson? Marilyn Manson.
And he got so much.
He was biting heads off, and guess what? I watched it, and guess what? I am not worshiping the devil. Like, I think one thing we do is we don't give kids enough credit for being smart. Like, we just think that there's these dumb, impressionable things that don't have a mind for themselves, to not be able to see a nuance of anything. Like, it's baffling. Like, there are smart individuals. These little humans have the ability to think and recognize stuff. They can see whether or not this is trolling. They can see whether or not he's actually worshiping the devil. Like, it's baffling. Like, I work with kids too. That is my day job, 9 to 5. I work with kids with disabilities, with non-disabilities all day long. I understand the influence that people have on them. But at the same time, I also understand that people are smart. We don't give kids enough credit.
I think this is a good question. What if instead of censoring artists, we viewed it as art and taught kids to view it the same? So I think this is a great. I think
because that's exactly what I was saying. Not saying that he had a responsibility to go and have conversations. I'm saying conversations, people putting in forth effort to have conversations around what he was doing. I didn't know if his message was actually being, received in a way that it was meant to be. So people should be having, like I said, these conversations. But unfortunately, everybody's not like us. They're not having these intellectual conversations. So I think that's where the discrepancy is. And I think that's why some people are so afraid, is because they're not having the conversation. So we are. I'm glad that we are. And Gigi, I'll let you go, and then we're going to wrap because we are so over our time.
I know. I was just going to add, piggyback on what that said is, I'm the art aspect of it, because people see art in very, very different ways. But I'm just curious to all of you guys, because we did talk about it with WAP. So how many of you guys really liked LilNas's video?
I looked at it and I thought it was very similar to what FKA Twigs video looked like. One of her videos where she kind of did something similar. Granted, FKA Twigs does not have the platform that LilNasX has. She's not.
I was like, I've never seen it, but okay.
Yeah, but from an artistic standpoint, from an artistic value, I thought that the execution on the video was dope. I thought that the actual video, and of course I do production, so that's why I'm like, oh yeah, that's dope that they were able to do that. Overall, did I clutch my pearls? No, I expected it. But did it bother me in my spirit? No, because I'm spiritually strong and I'm spiritually inept to be able to know what is what and what should and should not affect me. I knew that all of these conversations were going to be had. So in a way, I was sort of, anticipating having these conversations. So that was my overall view.
Okay.
I thought the video
wig. I hated the braided wig, and I hated he was in boxer briefs. I'm just saying, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah, I hated the video too. The braided wig thing, him and 6ix9ine doing that, it's horrible. Also the CGI for me, it just wasn't it. It looked kind of whack. Didn't like it.
I liked it.
I personally didn't care for it. There was a lot of colors, beautiful gowns. There's just a lot of colors.
Definitely. Well, yeah, that was a conversation. We knew we were going to have a deep conversation, and I'm sure we can keep going and keep going. But I'll just go with my last thoughts. As I just said a moment ago, I think that it's good that we're having this conversation. And I think if we leave with nothing else other than it's good to have an understanding of one another. And it's good to come in, putting our judgmental gazes down and to just try to understand. I don't think kids are stupid. I think that parents should take the responsibility over, not just what their children take in, but also how they're translating it, and have conversations with your kids. It's important. I know I'm trying to break generational curses. I know certain things were not spoken to me in a certain way to where I could freely express myself as a child, but I grew up in a household, in a family that allowed me to appreciate art at the same time. And I think that helps me, to kind of view the world a little bit differently. So thanks, Chris, for being here. And I'm looking forward to having more conversations like this. So I'll pass it to you.
Yes, Chris, thank you for being there. You always come with the smoke and I always come with the heat. So, it's fire. But one thing that I will say is that conversations like this, of course, need to be had, but also it depends on the foundation. If you work with children, if you're a parent, if you're passionate about the youth, make sure their foundation is set. So when they are faced with certain things, they can tell the difference between being a follower and a leader. That's one thing I would say. Even someone in the comments was saying even their 15-year-old was kind of like, ooh, this is a little bit too much. But I do think that's because of the value systems, and that's because of what they taught their child as a parent. I think the youth is one of the most precious things. These are going to be the same individuals that make laws for us and that really change the future. So we do have to be mindful, and there is accountability that we have, not only as artists, but us as an adults, to make sure that the youth grow and prosper in the way that they should go. Also, I want to say that, of course, I say it every week, but it is important to protect your peace, but also it is important to make sure that you vote in your local elections. We definitely saw that with the Georgia governor. And so I just encourage you guys, be tapped in. If there's things that you want us to cover, please, please, please slide in our DMs, write us, add us. We want to cover topics that you're passionate about. And I thank you guys for tuning in.
I'm just excited. This is a great episode. I guess my final words, I'll start off with, if we want to be a better society and we want to protect our kids, maybe we should arm them with more knowledge instead of trying to hide everything from them. That's my personal opinion from a not yet parent. Overall, I think communication, these type of conversations help, and that we need to stay focused on community building and understanding expression and people's pain through whatever lens they want to express it. I don't think you can be a proper ally to any community by dictating an expression of hurt, pain, or even artistic expression. With that all being said about today's episode, I gotta give a shout out to my UCLA Bruins. We made the Final Four, first time since 2008. They counted us out. We had to come in a playout seed. We was 11th seed. We did that. Every single game they said we couldn't do it. And here we are. And we're going to win the next game. We're about to be national champions. I would give you an A clap, but I don't even know if Christian gonna get an A clap. I'm just gonna do it like that. I'm just gonna leave it with it. I'll leave it with that. Go UCLA. All right.
Christian.
Definitely. Great episode tonight. I'm just soaking it all in. I'm loving it. I'm thankful for our guest speaker, and then just for us to have this real critical conversation amongst young urban professionals that actually live this day to day. And, for us to talk about tradition, church, sexuality is so key, right? And it's hard because people just don't want to talk about it. And so I realized that our topic, Satan versus sexuality, just because of someone's sexual preference doesn't make them satanic, right? And so this gives us an opportunity to understand love, to understand openness, to understand compassion, to understand justice, and I could go on and on and on. But I'm so thankful for today. Two things that I'll leave you all with is one is that we are working on police reform out here in the Antelope Valley, dealing with canceling the contract of our sheriff's department, removing police from out of high schools. And then my last thing is we're working on a U.S. National Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation Commission. So we're out here doing work. Please continue to follow up. We want to make sure that we talk about equity, we talk about racial justice, and we make it move. So yeah.
Last words, Chris.
Oh, sorry. I just want to say, to heal means to acknowledge. You can't heal unless you're acknowledging someone's been hurt. I posted it on Facebook, and I just want to say that's my final words. If I said anything controversial today, you guys could DM me at Anna Navarro. If I said anything that you guys like, feel free at Chris. Don't say it, okay?
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone watching and commenting. We'll catch us next time. And keep your kids off Pornhub, right?
Right.
Lawrence. I'm trying to tell them we need to stop it.
Bye.